We're live, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about toxic to terrific, the school culture that keeps teachers happily ever after. Do you have a consistently high rate of teacher turnover? I'm not talking about one or two or maybe three teachers. I'm saying consistently high rate of teacher turnovers. And what's your excuse? In some schools, they don't even expect teachers to stay. You see, if you have a consistently high teacher turnover, you may have a toxic school culture. When teachers frequently leave the school, it suggests that, maybe they are dissatisfied with their working conditions, their relationships with colleagues, or the overall atmosphere within the school. And if you are a new or returning principal, I know this makes you feel discouraged and because everybody's looking at you. So on today's show, I'm going to show you 4 things you can do to make sure that culture is not one of the reasons that your teachers are leaving. So not only are you going to find out about school culture, but what we're going to be talking about today is going to help you identify school culture. We hear people talking about school culture all the time, but you just can't put your finger on it. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Hi, my name is Barbara Polk. I'm your host, Principals on the Come Up, where we transform schools into hallelujah success stories. And the things that I'm sharing with you today are the things that we are discussing in our Emerging Principals AP Mastermind. So these are things that we share, and these are the things that I want to discuss with you today. So, Thomas Jefferson said, if you want something you never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done. I live in Southeast Texas, and we celebrate Mardi Gras down here, and we always go to the Mardi Gras parade. So for years, our family and our extended family would stand along the street for hours waiting for the floats to come by and for the bands to pass by so that we could holler, hey, mister, throw us some beads and candy just like it is in Mardi Gras. But during the parade, we got tired standing up there for hours. Some of our older family members were really lethargic, and sometimes it would be cold out there and they didn't have a place to sit, but they wanted to be a part of the celebration. So we knew that we had to do something different for our family and for our friends so that they could be safe, that could be comfortable. So we decided to lease a space along the parade route. And we bought a covered trailer and we put on that spot. The trailer had lights. We had food in there. It was shelter. It was a place to sit, and we had our music in there. So our friends would stop by every year and look forward to having fun with us. We wanted to enjoy the Mardi Gras parade with our family. So we had to do something that we had never done before. We were willing to make the change. Like you, if you are experiencing teachers leaving, you have to do something different. You have to know that teachers want to stay in a culture that is one that makes them feel safe, one that makes them feel protected, and an environment where they are respected. And not only are the teachers respected, but also the students on the campus and the community at large. So I want to tell you that we're going to be talking about that today. And for those of you who don't really can put your finger on what a toxic culture looks like, let's talk about that. So a toxic culture is a culture that's negative, where people have attitudes, where the practice within the school community is where the teachers and the students and the staff constantly putting each other down, and they're not achieving their educational goals. So what I'm going to discuss with you and tell you are ways for you to determine if your school is a school that has a toxic culture, and it may be the reason that teachers are leaving. The first way that you can tell that you have a toxic culture is high teacher turnover, of course. So if you are frequently having a high teacher turnover, that means that for the most part, that teachers are dissatisfied with their working conditions. They may feel as though they have excessive workload. They may feel that the environment is hostile. So that's one reason, one thing to determine if you have a toxic culture. The second is that you have a lack of trust and collaboration. I mean, and that could come from you as the principal. It just may be obvious that you do not trust people on your campus, and you hold everything close to your chest, and it's noticeable. It's noticeable not only within your inner circle, but it's noticeable among other administrators, especially your assistant principal, who feels like they're on the outside and you don't let them in. Teachers don't feel supported, or your administrators don't, or your team leaders don't feel supported. And they see that there is an unwillingness to collaborate due to fear of making mistakes. So, if you are on a team and you try to make suggestions, nobody wants to hear it. You're unsupported. That's considered part of a toxic culture. And of course, the morale. That's the next thing. The morale is going to be low. It's going to be low job satisfaction. There'll be mumbling and grumbling among the teachers. And they sometimes don't express their dissatisfaction directly to you, but they express their satisfaction directly to each others and anybody else who wants to listen to it in the community. So that means that, that's another indication of a toxic culture. And, we talk about our students bullying. We have adults on campuses that are bullies, and you know who they are. And what they do, they have disrespectful kind of behavior. And this is, peer-to-peer, the mistreatment of each other. They don't pay attention to the emotional well-being of individuals on the campus. So, toxic culture. And of course, with the toxic culture, we don't want to change. A toxic culture is very resistant to change or any kind of innovation that you may come up with. So as a new or returning principal, you may be hitting this wall. You can't identify it. So I'm identifying it for you today. These are elements of a toxic culture. And no teacher who has any option to go someplace else is going to stick around in a toxic culture. Other things about a toxic culture is that there's a lack of transparency. People do things and they don't tell you the real truth behind, why they're doing things. There's an atmosphere of people blaming each other rather than trying to solve the problem. There's not a consistent enforcement of policy. You treat one teacher one way, you treat another teacher another way. So, there's stress, and people, they don't want to work under those conditions. And that's passed on within the community. So before I go and I tell you your 4 things, how you can improve your toxic culture, I really, really, really appreciate if you would go to YouTube, and if you would subscribe to my page, it's Barbara Ray Polk, and give it a thumbs up. I would certainly appreciate that. You're so good to spend your time to listen to the things that I have to say, and hopefully you're sharing it with others, because the purpose of me coming on is to specifically address our new and our returning principals, to offer them the kind of support that they need, and also to let you know what is happening within our emerging principals and AP mastermind, because these are the things that happen among us. So let's go and talk about what you can do so that you do not have a toxic culture, so that you can share a positive culture. The first thing, and it just seems so obvious, is that you as the leader, you have to be committed to change. You're going to play a crucial role. It's going to be some transformation. You're going to have to change. You're going to have to set some examples. You're going to have to show that you have a genuine desire to create a healthy and an inclusive environment. You should be able to communicate your vision, and not just do it by yourself, but be able to let others know what the vision is. And something as simple as you want 100% of your sixth graders should be reading at level for your testing. For some that may seem impossible, but that's your vision, and everybody has to know that. This will help to change your culture. The next thing is trust building. Now, I have to say, a lot of teachers do not trust each other. And you, as the principal, there's some people that you don't trust on campus. And it could be a lot of people you don't trust on campus. And it's obvious that people know that. And in order for you to have a shared culture, a positive culture, you're going to have to resist that. You have to really work hard. You cannot be the principal who is at the at central office at the principal's meeting, and you're constantly jumping up and down, going outside, answering telephone calls that your campus is calling you because they can't make a decision, because they know that you don't trust them to make a decision. And if they make a bad decision, then they don't want to be ostracized. You have to do some trust building. And you're going to have to, the next thing, you're going to have to celebrate success. And I'm not talking about no woo-woo, rah-rah success. Just celebrate your small wins. People need to know that the hard work that they're putting in, that you recognize that. You recognize the change. You have to acknowledge their progress and their achievement. And that's going to boost the morale. And it's going to reinforce this culture change that you're working towards. And accountability. Sometimes the culture is that some of you do not hold all of your people accountable. You're going to have to hold people accountable for their actions and behaviors, and especially those that undermine your shared culture. You are going to have to implement consequences for violations of the established norms, and ensuring fairness and consistency. Now, for some of you, that is going to be a difficult task. And the job that you have as the principal of that campus, it is not an easy task. And nobody who ever became great at their job was somebody who was afraid to make decisions. And I'm telling you, principal, assistant principal, if you are not prepared to make those hard decisions, then maybe you need to be the one to start doing some introspecting and decide that, by golly, I'm going to stand for this. I'm going to make the change that's needed in order to keep teachers, retain teachers, attract teachers, because you have a campus that has a shared culture. So let's look at ways again for you to be able to change the culture. You're going to have to be committed as a leader. You're going to have to trust the people on your campus. You're going to have to celebrate their success, and you're going to have some accountability. So this is what we do in our emerging principals and AP mastermind. As principals, we are in a position where we don't have anybody who we can just kind of, go to and say, this is the problem that we're having. And it may not be somebody that you feel trusting with, who is within your school district. Because a lot of us are in our smaller school districts, and you don't know who you're talking to. It may be misconstrued about, what you say or how you feel. So that means that, in our group, we have diverse people. We have peer support and accountability. People see things differently. Sometimes you can be so close to the issue until you really can't see, that old saying, you can't see the forest for the trees. And we need to have confidence as principals. And in our mastermind, that's where we're building our confidence. So, principals, what we were talking about today is toxic to terrific culture that keeps teachers happily ever after. And that's what we want. We not only want it for ourselves, but especially we want it for our teachers, our students, and our community. So think about it. Are your teachers leaving simply because you just expect them to leave? Oh yeah, everybody that comes over here, they don't stay anyway. That principal is so terrible, and nobody's saying anything about it. I feel you. I feel you. But there is a way. There is a way out, especially if you are a new or returning principal. So, if you want to be a part of our emerging principal and assistant principal cohort, you can just click on that link. Also, I mean, we have a free 10-page handbook. And you can, if you're a member of Principals on the Come Up, you can invite others to join it. All you do is just hit that little plus sign, that green plus sign. Or if you're not, then you can join Principals on the Come Up. We are Principals on the Come Up, where we transform schools into hallelujah success stories. We'll see you next time.